Welcome, everyone. It's getting to be a few minutes before 7, so if you can tie down your conversations and find a seat, and we'll start at exactly 7 o'clock. Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jerry Eddins, Chair of Citizens for Milford, and with me this evening is fellow town meeting member Bill Sanborn. Together, we will be serving as the moderators for tonight's forum. On behalf of all the members of Citizens for Milford, we welcome you all here tonight, voters and candidates. This evening, we are hosting our 12th Candidate Forum, an opportunity for Milford voters to hear directly from the candidates. We are so grateful to once again be partnering with our friends at Milford TV. Not only are they managing the sound and this evening's live broadcast, they are also recording this important community event to ensure as many voters as possible can get the information they need to cast informed votes on Tuesday, April 7th. We also extend our thanks to the Milford Select Board and Town Administrator Rick Villani for supporting the forum. And we are so pleased to have with us two members of the Select Board this evening, Selectman Paul Mazzucchelli and Selectman Mike Walsh. In addition, we thank the Town Clerk's Office and we thank the custodians, Carlos Benjamin, for his work in setting up the hall for our program this evening.
This year's town election includes one contested race. It's a 3-year seat on the Board of Health. We will hear from 2 of the candidates running for this seat in the second half of the forum. We will begin by hearing from a number of candidates who are running unopposed in this year's town election. Each of these candidates has prepared a statement introducing themselves, explaining why they are running, and sharing their goals for another term. We will invite each candidate to present their statement. The moderators reserve the right to ask candidates a follow-up question to clarify a statement they made as needed. Anyone here in the audience who would like to ask these candidates a question is welcome to speak directly with them after the conclusion of the forum. So let's begin. We'll be going in alphabetical order. And so the first candidate to be announced is going to be Paul Barraza, who is running for the Parks Commission. Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. There's really no prepared statement. I've been a Parks Commissioner for 18 years, member of the town meeting since 2005. I've served this town and will continue to serve this town as long as I'm healthy. I enjoy anything about Milford and the parks. If anybody watched in the last 10 years, we've really prospered with a lot of great projects, Pheno Field Pool, Town Park. We're just continuing on, so I appreciate everybody's support, and thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. And so next, continuing in alphabetical order, we invite Scott Crisafulli, who is an incumbent for one seat on the trustees of Vernon Grove.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you to Citizens of Milford for doing this for us. I'm Scott Crisafulli. I'm running for the position of Vernon Grove Cemetery Trustee. I believe our cemetery is one of the most important places in the community. It's more than just land. It's where generations of families are remembered, where history is preserved, and where people come to reflect and honor those who came before us. Our cemetery deserves careful stewardship, respect, and thoughtful planning so it can be continued to serve our community for the years to come. I've worked very hard alongside of other trustees to maintain the dignity, beauty, and the history of our cemetery. Some of the accomplishments we've done is we've paved the cemetery with the Highway Department's help. We managed to do that at a lot less expense than was figured before I was there. We did a fence replacement, a fence that was 125 years old, damaged over the years, so we replaced that. We created the position of an administrator that was much needed. It was a position that pretty much took over all the paperwork and the buying and selling of lots and all the important stuff, so the board didn't really have to get involved with that. So that was a great thing we did. We added the database to the cemetery. So now if you go online to the cemetery, you can find graves of your loved ones, and anybody can access it. It's not completely done. Over the years, we're going to build it up more when the funding is available, so you'll have pictures of graves. We cleared a half-acre of land for future use at the cemetery. We are running out of space, maybe not in my lifetime, but shortly after, we're going to have no place to bury people. So along with that is we're also looking for land. That's part of our capital plan, is to buy a piece of land or find a piece of land within the town that we can use for the future. Again, probably not in my lifetime, but eventually that's something that we have to think about. I'd like to see a few things we've been, trying to get done at the board, at the meetings, the trustee meetings. Cremation garden. So cremations have increased over the years. It's about 50-50 now, full burials and cremations. So we want a section of the cemetery built just for cremations. And it takes up a lot less land and less expensive for anybody who needs to use it. An all-weather pavilion, similar to what you'd see at Sacred Heart, which I actually built when I was 18 years old. So I have a little experience in that. But we'd like to have that for inclement weather that we could use. That's on our wish list. The buildings down there are well over 100 years old. They are rotting, the roofs are leaking, paint's falling off, so we're looking into a new building of some sort, whether it's rebuilding what's there or fixing, buying a new one or installing the new one. I don't know. It's something that's in the works right now. So I care deeply about maintaining dignity and beauty of the history of the space. As a trustee, I would work to ensure it's well maintained, responsibly managed, treated with respect our loved ones deserve. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, and I look forward to sharing more of my ideas or hearing from you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
The next candidate is Emmy Sissy Hull Allen, representing Vernon Grove trustees.
Just Sissy is fine. Thank you, Scott, for that crash course in Vernon Grove. I appreciate that. Thank you, Citizens of Milford, for this. This is my first time. I've been a member of town meeting. This is my second term. And I'm a newbie to Milford. I've only been here about 10 years. I moved here in 2015, which was the year my son had a kidney transplant. And that was kind of a coincidence. I got to find out that there was a Dr. Murray from Milford who won the Nobel Prize for Medicine in 1999 for his work in transplantation of kidneys. And I got to meet Brian Murphy, his grandson. So I feel like I'm kind of where I need to be. Vernon Grove, I'm learning. I find it a beautiful place. I just discovered it in the fall, which is kind of sad after being here for 10 years. And I would like to be a part of maintaining it and working on the beautification and preserving it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sissy. And next we invite Amy Hennessy Neves, who is our incumbent town clerk.
Good evening. For those who do not know me, I am your town clerk, Amy Hennessy Neves. I've worked for the town of Milford since 1998, when I first worked in the town treasurer's office as the payroll clerk. In 2003, a position became available, and I jumped at the opportunity to be able to work one-on-one with the public again. When the former town clerk, Joseph Arcudi, started planning to retire in 2006, he appointed me to the role of assistant town clerk, and I was also appointed by the select board as acting town clerk until I first ran for election in 2007. I would like to continue serving as the elected town clerk because I care about our community and the important work my office does every day. The town clerk's office helps residents with everything from elections and vital records to various licenses and local information. And I take pride in being someone people can rely on for this assistance. I care deeply about our community and the important role this office plays in maintaining transparent, accurate, and accessible local government. The town clerk's office is often the first point of contact residents have with the town government, and I take pride in knowing that every interaction is professional, helpful, and respectful. During my time in this role, I've worked along with my team to uphold the integrity of our elections, maintaining our vital records with accuracy and care, and providing reliable services to residents, businesses, and fellow town departments. It is an honor to serve this community, and I would be grateful for the opportunity to continue working on our behalf of our residents and the public as your town clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy. I'd like to introduce Charles Renaud, who is the running for tree warden and gypsy moth superintendent incumbent.
Thank you for the invitation, and Citizens of Milford, and good evening to all of the residents and voters. It's nice of you to come out on such a rainy evening. My name's Chuck Renaud. I have been tree warden for many years. I have a strong background in trees with a degree in arboriculture from UMass. I'm a certified arborist. I hold a certificate from the state in invasive plant management. I'm a certified horticultural teacher. I have over 50 years experience in trees and working with trees. I work closely with other departments, highway department, park department. called out all hours of the day and night to deal with it. We had a tree come down this morning, by the way, on the bike trail, but we got that taken care of right away. Work closely also with National Grid, and we get many calls from residents on what's going on. National Grid has a job to do under the law. Trees are governed under Chapter 87 of the Mass General Laws, and you can't stop them from trimming and doing their work. That's so we have reliability in our electricity. Also, in working closely with Mass Electric, or National Grid as it is now, I'm very familiar with the Forestry Department there, and they will help us out on several occasions, saving us money. I was also involved with the Park Department in selecting and planting the trees at Draper Park renovation and Town Park renovation. I look forward to another 3 years of serving the town of Milford and its residents. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me at any time. And I would ask for your vote, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you. And then our last candidate who's running unopposed, who's with us this evening, is Brendan Rickert, and Brendan is an incumbent on the school committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Citizens for Milford, for this event. I think it's really important to have these events, even with a lack of races that are being opposed. I'm running for school committee, which is awesome to say. I'm running for re-election for school committee. Whenever I tell someone that I'm part of school committee, I get one comment and 3 questions. The first comment is, are you crazy? Second is, do you like it? Third is, what do you do? And fourth is, can you tell me when there's going to be a snow day? And the answers are yes, yes, a lot to it, and no, I can't. I don't decide snow days. You know, this year in particular is a challenging year for the budget. We are receiving less money from the state, less money from the federal government. It's a little bit of a combination of 2 things at once. We actually have a declining enrollment for the first time in a while. We are about 200 students less than we have been over the last few years. And with that, our Chapter 70 funding does come in less from that. Additionally, the state revenue is down, so there's less money from the state coming down to the local governments. From the federal side, Title I funding is connected to students who have special needs or high needs, and those include what your home economic situation is, to what your learning abilities are. And those things do play into the money that comes also from the federal government. I'd also just say, too, we are still struggling as a country recovering from COVID. It happened 5 years ago, I understand that. But the average student after COVID lost about half a year of learning from when March of 2020 happened to the end of school, where most kids just received online learning, and then the repercussions from that leading to the fall with having to have social distancing, mask on. We lost a lot of educational content time, and we have not made up for that in any one particular community or as a nation. And I do feel there needs to be a lot more emphasis and funding from the federal government to the local communities to provide more opportunities for our students to succeed, especially the younger students. If you were in kindergarten, first, second, third grade, trying to learn is already a challenge at its baseline. Having to do it over a computer, having to be in a class where you're separated from your classmates and your friends, wearing a mask, it's incredibly challenging. So I will say this, Milford as a community, we've done a really great job of trying to catch those students up. We've implemented 2 new curriculums since I've been part of the board, which is not an easy lift for our teachers and our administrators, so I'm really proud of them for the work that they've done and their commitment to the students. We have a new superintendent this year, which is a whole new onboarding challenge, but Dr. Consigli is doing a fantastic job. I really appreciate his commitment to the community. And, you know, with all that said, while the challenges are significant and they are daunting and they are giving me gray hair, it's important to go through all of it. The students are a point of pride for this community, and I take that responsibility incredibly to my heart. It really is something that we are responsible for, to always pass along to the generations behind us to make their futures better than ours. So with that, I appreciate everyone's support. I really do enjoy being in this town. It is a privilege to be on this board, and thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you, Brendan. Will the candidates for the Board of Health please be seated at the front table?
So at this time, we will hear from 2 of the 3 candidates who are running for 1 seat on the Board of Health. Before they make their opening statements, we would like to review the format and rules for this segment. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement. Once the candidates have finished their statements, the moderators will pose a series of questions to both candidates. In between our questions, voters in attendance will be invited to ask questions from the standing microphone. We urge everyone to please keep in mind the following ground rules for asking and for answering questions. Members of the audience, please limit your question to 30 seconds. And candidates, please try to respond with an answer that is no longer than 2 minutes. Questions can be directed to one particular candidate or to both candidates. If a question is directed to only one candidate, they will have 2 minutes to respond, and the other candidate will have 1 minute to comment. The candidate who answered initially will have 1 minute to rebut. So 2, 1, 1. The moderators reserve the right to extend the answer time if needed. And most importantly, members of the audience, please be considerate when stating a question. Each candidate has supporters in the room. We ask that you be respectful, avoid personal attacks. We reserve the right to dismiss an insensitive or inappropriate question, to cut off political statements, and to move on. Thank you. So let's begin. So there are actually 3 candidates running for this 1 seat: Rosemary Sequeira, Diana Haynes, and Scott Vecchiola. We had originally announced that Scott would be with us tonight, but unfortunately, on Friday, he let us know he was going to be out of town. So please welcome Rosemary Sequeira and Diana Haynes. Before the forum began, the order of the candidates' opening statements was determined, and Diana will be making her statement first. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you to the Citizens for Milford and to everyone who came tonight, especially with the weather. My name is Diana Haynes. I'm a lifelong Milford resident, a registered nurse, and I will bring 35 years of public health experience to this role. For most of my career, I worked for the Milford Visiting Nurses Association, providing Massachusetts Department of Public Health mandated public health services. This work included communicable disease investigation and education, immunization and wellness clinics, and mandated reporting. Because these services were delivered through a Massachusetts Department of Public Health certified agency, we followed state regulations closely and had access to current guidance, training, and case management systems. This allowed us to work safely, legally, and responsibly while maintaining strong communication with the Board of Health. To prepare for this position, I've taken time to update myself on Milford's current public health work. I attended a Board of Health meeting, reviewed past minutes, studied Department of Public Health guidelines and town bylaws, and spoke directly with Amanda Wilson, Milford's Director of Public Health. If elected, residents will gain a Board of Health member with hands-on public health experience and a clear understanding of the board's responsibilities. I have managed nurses providing care in the community and worked directly with the residents in their homes. I have enforced regulations while building trust through respect, fairness, and education to help reduce the spread of disease. As a board member, I will be proactive, accessible, and collaborative. I believe public health works best when we listen to residents' concerns and work as a team with the health department and fellow board members. No one person can make effective change alone. I am fully committed to the Board of Health's mission to promote, protect, and sustain public and environmental health in Milford, and I respectfully request your vote in the town election on April 7th. Thank you for your time and your commitment to our community.
Thank you, Diana. Rosemary, could you please make your opening statement?
Sure. So my name's Rosemary Cerquera, and thank you all for this great opportunity because a lot of people don't really know much about us. But I bring 45 years of emergency medicine health care to the forefront. I've been part of committees like Sepsis Committee, committees like the Infectious Disease Committee, both at Milford Hospital and at UMass in Worcester, where I worked over 25 years. I'm also a nurse practitioner. I have a master's degree in nursing science. And since 2002, I've been on the disaster team for the state of Massachusetts, being deployed to hurricane areas along with the National Guard, Air Force, and Army. I've been an active member of the town government, a former school committee member, as well as a current Precinct 6 town meeting member. I hope to bring my clinical experience and expertise to improve the health and the safety of the community by applying evidence-based solutions and strengthen our current health policies. If I am elected, I look forward to developing strong working relationships with our schools, strong working relationships with our hospital and infectious committees at the hospital, and also my goal too is to formulate a relationship with our emergency preparedness person, Mark Nelson, from the fire department and the community. So on April 7th, I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next segment, questions to the Board of Health candidates. We will now ask the candidates a number of questions, rotating whom we ask first as we move down the list. However, Rosemary is going to get to answer first because of the little lottery we did. Candidates, we ask that you answer each question within 2 minutes. Your opponent is welcome to comment on your answers, but we ask that comments be kept to 1 minute. So, Rosemary, first question. Why are you running for the Board of Health?
There are two reasons. The first reason is back in 2020, remember COVID occurred in 2019. It didn't affect Milford until 2020, and it was about April or May. I worked in the emergency room at that time, in the trenches of it all. Took care of a lot of patients, isolated patients and families, and we were running out of resources. We had no N95 masks. We had no surgical masks. I was making PPEs, which are personal protection equipment, with plastic, cutting them out in patterns, taking an iron, and gluing them together so that our nurses and physicians had something to wear to protect themselves. At that point, I went out to the community and I asked them for assistance. So I went to Koopmans, I went to Lowe's, I went to Home Depot, and I got them to donate boxes and boxes of N95 masks, and I took them to the hospital. So that now we had N95 masks. It wasn't perfect, but we had them to the point that we would wear a clean surgical mask over it, and we could continue to use those N95 masks. I also asked for other things like surgical caps. So I had neighbors and friends that made me surgical caps. The other problem that we had was our masks were chafing the back of our ears. It was chafing the back of our ears, our nose, our faces. So I had neighbors like Grace Hill and other neighbors from the community that actually knitted those bands so that we can wear these N95s for 10 to 12 hours, because that's what our shifts were, anywhere from 8 hours to 12 hours. After that, I was so grateful for all the help that we got that I felt I wanted to give back to my community. And this was the best way that I could give back to my community. Now, the good thing or the bad thing is that Lenny Ezzo unfortunately passed away, and he's got some big shoes to fill. And so this was the perfect opportunity for me now to put my hat in the race, and hopefully on April 7th I'll be able to prove that we can bring the community back together, and good things will come out of this. And that's why I'm running.
Thank you. Diana, why are you running for the Board of Health?
For many years, the town had had the privilege of having knowledgeable, experienced members on the Board of Health. Sadly, those gentlemen have passed, leaving empty seats to fill. No one can replace the years that they gave. I have 35 years of public health experience, as I have said, working in the community and with the Board of Health. So I understand the regulations that the Board of Health are under. The Department of Public Health sets minimum standards and guidelines. The Board of Health needs to follow those guidelines. We have a department who is trained in going out into the community and following the standards set by the Department of Public Health. Also, I have extensive knowledge of the work that the Board of Health in their department do, and I have worked closely with the Department of Public Health, the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, in my role at the visiting nurses. I'm confident that I would bring value to the board and to the town from day one. I have a strong desire to work with the community again and share my knowledge by guiding the health department and collaborating with the other board members. No one person can do this job alone. We have luckily 5 people in our Board of Health department and 3 board members. And they meet monthly, and I feel that through the work that I've done in the community, going into the homes, seeing what the situations are, it's very easy from the outside to drive by and look at a house. You don't know what's going on inside that house. The Board of Health staff does. They have gone into the restaurants, they've done safety checks in the homes. And I am well aware of what they're up against when they go out. So I feel that I can bring my knowledge and experience in helping them to fulfill their roles.
Thank you.
Excellent. So the next question, and Diana, you're going to answer this one first. What do you consider to be the most pressing issues confronting the Board of Health, and how do you plan to address them?
The number one most pressing issue that I see in the town is overcrowding. It remains a significant concern in our community. I hear it a lot from the residents. I was at the senior center this morning. I heard it from a lot of seniors that were there. And it's presenting an ongoing public health and safety challenge. Safe, adequate housing is a fundamental human need. In recent years, the town has experienced an increase in illegal housing conversions, many involving absentee landlords. These conditions place tenants at risk and create substantial enforcement challenges. Property owners are responsible for maintaining their buildings and ensuring compliance with established occupancy limits. The Mass Department of Public Health sets minimum housing standards, and at the local level, the Board of Health has strengthened oversight through Article 37, which further regulates building occupancy. Common violations include two-family homes, housing multiple families, makeshift living spaces in attics and basements, single rooms rented individually, and single-family homes occupied by more residents than they were designed to safely accommodate. In some cases, neighbors have reported individuals living in backyard sheds. Although inspections are conducted, enforcement remains a challenge. Some properties are not properly registered with the Board of Health, and even when they are, additional occupants may move in over time. These conditions increase fire and life safety risks, strain waste management systems, and raise public health concerns related to communicable diseases and pest infestations, including rodents and insects. In 2011, the Select Board commissioned a neighborhood task force to address urban blight. This task force was developed in collaboration with the Board of Health and other multiple town departments, which became involved as appropriate depending on the nature of the violations. The Board of Health is responsible for enforcing these regulations and, when necessary, establishing penalties to protect the health and safety of residents. At the same time, it is recognized that housing options are limited. Residents should not be forced to live in unsafe conditions or face displacement. However, rehousing individuals is not the role of the Board of Health. For this reason, I believe collaboration is essential, working with local social service agencies on the task force, maintaining a clear and multilingual list of housing resources, and partnering with community organizations, including faith-based groups, who can help residents connect with needed assistance. These partnerships also support education around housing safety and regulatory compliance. The overall goal is to balance effective enforcement with public health protection while working collaboratively to address the broader housing challenges facing the community.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana. I'm just going to point out you went over a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm going to...
2 minutes goes by very quick.
It does. So, Rosemary, the same question goes to you, but you may also have 3 minutes and 30 seconds if you would like to take that long.
Well, she actually, everything that I was going to say, she said.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So, overcrowding is an issue. It's been an issue for a long time. Something else, though, is creeping up. It's the amount of garbage that is showing up in multi-family complexes that are owned by multi-millionaires. And when I've gone around door to door, people have complained about this. There are pictures out there of garbage that is over the canisters on the ground, and it's rodent infestation. We have to worry about, bacteria and our health. So that's another issue that is popping up that we need to correct as soon as possible, and that is an immediate issue. Where the overcrowding of the houses, that's a long-term kind of issue. Yeah, we need to go in and assess that, but that's not immediate. Immediate is going to be the amount of garbage that is mounting in these multi-family complexes, like outside the Grove. The Grove is wonderful, and I've gone up there several times, nice and clean, but you go just down the street a little bit where the old, I think it was, Hedsted, near Halstead? Yes, the old Rolling Green. I've gone there 3 times on different days over the past month, and every single time, the amount of garbage, it's despicable. And so we have to start holding these landlords, and they're multimillionaire landlords, we have to start holding them accountable to this. So for me, it's the overcrowding, but it's also the excess garbage that we're seeing that we need to address right away.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. And now we'd like to invite any voter with a question to please walk up to the standing microphone at any time.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, moderators. My name is Mike Visconti, just an average Milford citizen, although there are some people in town who would argue that to raise myself to the level of average would be a stretch. Anyway, in any case, currently the Board of Health conducts routine inspections of restaurant facilities and such, common vic holders, license holders. These inspections are pre-noticed, giving the license holder a schedule of when the inspector will be down to inspect their facility. What this does is it puts the license holder in an advantage to, for example, clean up all the rat droppings in the kitchen, make sure the temperatures in their coolers and refrigerators and freezers are at the right temperature, things of that nature. If you are elected, would you push to have these inspections surprise inspections? So when the inspector shows up, they would be faced with a typical day without the restaurant being spit shined and the rat droppings cleaned up in anticipation of a scheduled inspection. Thank you. For both candidates, please.
Diana, would you please answer first?
Yes. It is my understanding that the bi-yearly restaurant inspections are not preset with the owners of the restaurants. When they go in, there's an initial assessment done that authorizes the restaurant to open. I agree, they should not be notified of the routine inspections. However, if they go in, they use a risk-based assessment for the restaurants, convenience stores, anybody who sells food that is not prepackaged. If they have to make the food, or if they sell frozen products, they check the expiration dates and that type of thing in these small convenience stores. I believe that what happens is based on what they find when they go into the restaurant or the convenience store, the owner is made aware of the violations and educated on the violations as to what they need improvement in, and depending how extensive or if it's a minor violation, the inspector can educate them on how to correct that. Then, based on the violation, that if it's a severe violation, they may go back in a day and re-inspect. They may give that restaurant 1 day to fix it, or there will be further consequences. If it's a minor violation, they may go back in and let them know, I'll be back in 2 weeks. And I think that's perfectly fine, giving them a set amount of time to complete their penalty, or not get a penalty, and complete their corrections. I feel that we want to know, and we want to make sure when we go into a restaurant that it's safe, that it's not, the food is well prepared. There is the inspection is posted within the restaurant and is made available to anybody who goes into that restaurant to eat. So yes, I agree with the fact that those routine inspections, and they do occur twice a year routinely, is my understanding that they are not forewarned, shall we say. But going back to inspect the corrections, they are given a rough date of, I'm going to be back in so many days or weeks to re-inspect. I'm sorry to disagree if you have a different understanding, but that's been my understanding.
Thank you, Diana. Rosemary, would you like to respond to this question?
Yes, I believe Diana is correct that they can go in on a surprise and go in and inspect the kitchen. And we're talking about restaurants and open kitchens like what we find in daycares and things like that. And if there's an infraction, then I agree that they would be given a certain amount of time to correct the infraction, and then they would go back in and then re-inspect. But I believe that Diana is correct, from my understanding.
Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to walk to the microphone to present a question? If there's, Mike, you have one more? Go ahead. One more. One more, and then we'll do a couple of questions from the moderators.
Visconti. I hate to touch on a sore subject, but it's common knowledge that with the advent of the trash barrels, there has been a significant amount of concern, especially from seniors or disabled residents, about being able to move the trash barrels around and put them out because of their size and weight when they're full. My understanding is that, and I've seen a few towns that have trash barrels with 4 wheels instead of the 2, which makes it far more easier for a senior or a disabled person to just wheel the trash barrel out and leave it on the street. Now, they come with casters that have those little step-on locks, okay, so that they won't blow down the street, if you will, like our barrels do now. Would you look into and consider pushing to have the 4-wheel barrels replace the 2-wheelers that we have now? Thank you.
And Rosemary, you can respond first.
Sure. So from my understanding is that we have the 95-gallon containers, and disabled people, elderly people can get the smaller ones with the 2 wheels that are fairly easy to move. My 93-year-old mother can move it. That would be something that we could bring back to the Board of Health and see if there's anything else that we can offer out there. But as far as I know, the smaller containers, I've been around asking some of the elders, and no one has said that they're having difficulty moving them. So I'm not sure.
Diana.
I understand also there are smaller containers available based on the complaints or requests, shall we say, of people who have difficulty moving the barrel, because it is heavy even before you put trash in, and someone who lives alone probably does not produce enough trash to fill a whole barrel. You can call the Board of Health and they can advise you as to where you can get those. I don't think they keep them in the office, but maybe they're available at the transfer station, I'm not sure. But they do have them available for town residents. Changing all the barrels in the town to accommodate that need would definitely have to be looked into, because I'm sure there's a cost associated with doing that. I would assume that when they initially went to this change of having this type of a barrel, there was a lot of research into what was available, what the cost to the town was going to be, what the barrels were going to hold, were they going to hold up if they only had I think you said the 2 wheels rather than the 4 wheels. So that would have to be brought before the board, and it would have to be looked into before any major change to that extent would be made.
Thank you, Diana. I'm going to ask a question, and this will be to Diana, if you can answer first, please. Many residents are concerned about the national decrease in standard vaccinations and the subsequent outbreak of measles around the country, including in Massachusetts. Can you explain the Board of Health's role in vaccination policy and your thoughts on whether you would recommend any changes and how to improve vaccination rates?
Fortunately, we live in a state that our governor has not taken the recommendations of CDC. We've all know that CDC is sort of in an upheaval. I don't want to go any farther with that. But our governor is made available the routine childhood vaccinations for residents in the state, and under the recommendations set forth by the American Academy of Pediatrics. Increasing the number of people who are willing to get vaccinated or vaccinate their children. I'm not sure if you're talking about children versus adults. That's a big job because everybody listens to the news, and depending where you get your news, I've always said, depends on what you hear. And so there are exceptions within the school system based on religion. They've always been there. But I believe firmly that childhood vaccinations, people need to do their own legitimate research and then have a discussion with their pediatrician explaining what their concerns are, seeing if he can allay any of their fears about vaccinating their children. I have a son who has 4 children. I know they research a lot. His wife is a nurse. They do their research on whether they want their children to have all the mandated let's put it this way, they do the mandated vaccinations. Some of the vaccinations, I believe, are optional, but it's always been that you had to have certain ones to go to school, and you had to show exempt reasons why you wanted to be exempt. So we in Massachusetts have all those vaccinations available to the public.
Okay. Rosemary, could you answer the question as well?
Yep. So we've had probably about 1,200 cases in South Carolina and Florida of the measles. Luckily, in Massachusetts, I believe it's only been 2, a child that came down with the measles during school vacation, and then an adult. So Massachusetts has been, people in Massachusetts have been very lucky because most people vaccinate their children. And we know that vaccines save lives. One of the things that I want to do if I'm elected is I want to work with the school committee, and I want to work with the school nurses and take a look at their guidelines and see what are they doing if we end up with a measles outbreak in school. Because measles, it does affect adults, but it mostly affects children. So that's one of the things I want to look at is what do we do if there is a measles outbreak within our community? What is the plan? But we're lucky that in Massachusetts that most kids are vaccinated, but now with the current administration in Washington, there is a push now to unvaccinate or not push the vaccination. So I expect that we will probably see a rise in some of these communicable diseases like measles, mumps, rubella, and maybe even polio, which we haven't seen in many, many, many years. And so we need to develop a plan of what are we going to do for the future of this community and the future of our children.
Thank you. Thank you. One more question from the moderators list. How should the board balance supporting small businesses and enforcing health codes? Diana went first on that one, so Rosemary, you can answer first here.
Can you repeat the question again?
How should the Board of Health balance supporting small businesses while still enforcing health codes? So, for example, a small family and pop restaurant, is there leeway with that in enforcing the health codes? Just an opinion?
Sure. So we do have a lot of small businesses that are currently being opened by, families that may be immigrants into this country that don't have a lot of resources, education, awareness. So the Board of Health, when they go in, they may find some, corrections that need to be made. So with these small businesses, we have to give them some leniency and educate and bring resources forward to help them out and give them a specific timeline, though, to correct these infrastructures. So these, corrections that need to be made. So the Board of Health, with these small businesses, it's like they say, it takes a village. So it takes a village to bring people up, and takes a village to make people successful. And we have to have some leniency, and but at the same time, we need to educate and bring some awareness because they may not have that. So we need to be supportive as a community.
Thank you. Diana?
Again, as I have said, the Department of Public Health in Massachusetts sets the minimum standards. The Board of Health cannot make the regulations any less strict. They have to enforce the minimum standards that are set forth by the department. They can make them stricter by adding bylaws to them, which they did with Article 37 around housing. But the leniency, I have seen outbreaks of communicable diseases in the community. If you have one store that, say, gets a cultural product from their own country, or from a country that in that product was not well preserved when it was sent to them, or was not appropriately preserved, such as being frozen, or they just put it in a box and sent it. And if that store sells that product to a number of people, again, I have seen what an outbreak of disease can do and how fast it can spread. And foodborne illnesses can spread pretty fast if a number of people partake of that product, or they serve it at a party, or they don't properly, they have a big party in the backyard, a big birthday party, and they serve it to all the people that come to the party, and people go home and they get sick. And then it's going to be up to the contract with the VNA to do the investigation of, and they do tracking and tracing to where that product came from. And then if it's an out-of-state product, they have to notify the out-of-state where, say, their distributor was. And then that's going to bring forth a whole nother ball of wax, shall we say, when they have to go into the distributors, or their family sends a product from their own home and they decide, well, in our country we ate this. Well, of course, everybody has a different culture, everybody eats different food, everybody has a different way of doing things. but we do have strict regulations that we do need to follow. So depending on what the infraction is, we can't always provide leniency, shall we say, with that, the little store owners. I applaud them for wanting to open up shops that would meet their culture and provide food for their people, because, you know, I grew up in Milford where, you know, the Italians had their cultures, the Portuguese, the Spanish people, the Irish, they all have their cultures and the foods that they eat. And hopefully those are properly prepared and don't cause an outbreak. An outbreak, again, at a party can hit a large number of people. So that's just
Thank you.
my opinion on the subject.
Thank you. We have one last question from the moderators.
And this one's going to, Diana, if you could answer this first, please. How should our town prepare for future pandemics or public health emergencies?
I did a lot of research on that, and if you don't mind, I have, there's a structured plan in the state, and the Massachusetts state has their own comprehensive state emergency plan. And the governor has designated a Massachusetts State Emergency Response Commission. The commission coordinates federal, state, local, and private resources, and that's MEMA. If you've ever heard of FEMA, well, it's MEMA in Massachusetts, Massachusetts Emergency Medical Awareness. Management agency, I'm sorry. And within that, they have an operations department that operates 24/7 as the command center for the Commonwealth during an emergency. Operation Division manages and coordinates the response through regional offices. In the state, there's 6 regional offices. We fall under Worcester region. Worcester, each regional office is fully staffed with people who are trained in tracking what's going on and coordinating with local agencies such as the town. Our emergency management director in Milford is the fire chief, Mark Nelson. Within that plan, the Board of Health may or may not have a role depending on what the emergency is. We fall under, within the plan, fall under Massachusetts Emergency Support Function 8, which provides the framework for coordination and cooperation across state agencies regarding public and mental health. And the primary agency support for Function 8 is the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. So consequently, we would be involved with the town. We would not be establishing our own emergency plan separate. It's a collaborative effort in the state. It's well structured. And each person or each department that's involved has their role and function. And I just wanted to, you said we could give a little rebuttal to, I wanted to
a rebuttal to your answer. Rosemary gets a turn. Or Diana, you're a little bit over.
Okay, again. Sorry.
Was there like one final statement that you wanted?
Well, no, I just wanted to speak about the measles in the schools, but that's okay.
Okay, well, why don't we stay on this question? So, Rosemary, you can take 3 minutes if you would like to respond.
Do you want me to restate the question? Yeah. How should our town prepare for future pandemics or public health emergencies?
For future pandemics. So back to COVID again. We were not prepared. But the experience gave us better insight as to what to do in the future. COVID never went away, but the variant changed to the point that it was more manageable. So we lucked out in that way. But there are other viruses out there, and my biggest fear is that we don't know what's coming down the road. It could be something just as bad as COVID-19. And are we going to be prepared for that? One of the goals that I have is working with Mark Nelson in emergency preparedness and looking at resources that we have out there. I really would like to work with the schools as well. I intend to work with the vulnerable people of our society, of our community, our elders, in developing a plan that would work. Because what happened during the 2020, where our students were homebound and they lost 6 months to a year of their education, it shouldn't happen again. And so my goal is to work on something that is feasible so that we don't experience that again. So, and hopefully we don't have that down the road, but I'm not sure, because it can happen.
Okay, we've reached the end of this segment of the forum, and we'd like to thank Diana and Rosemary for participating tonight and sharing your thoughts about public health and your goals for the Board of Health. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have a round of applause for Diana and Rosemary, please? Thank you. Thank you. And we would also like to thank all the other candidates who joined us this evening. I hope everybody has found it to be very informative. So one more round of applause for the entire team of candidates who participated tonight. And then before we close, we have 3 brief announcements. Citizens for Milford would like to invite everybody to this year's Milford Beautification Day. That will be held on Saturday, April 25th, and you are welcome to join us anytime between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. at the municipal parking lot on Main Street, right across from Sacred Heart Church. We are so pleased that we will be able to provide free lunch again this year. The Lions Club will be grilling hamburgers and hot dogs, and Rail Trail Flatbread will be serving New City Micro Creamery ice cream for all the volunteers. In case it rains, we do have the following Sunday, the next day, as the rain date, but the hours are different. It will be from noon to 3. Also, we will soon be accepting new sponsorships and renewals for the Draper Memorial Park Field of Flags. The first display will be for Memorial Day, and we do have sponsorship forms over on the table where Nancy and Amy are seated. And most importantly, Milford voters, Citizens for Milford hopes that tonight's forum was informative. We urge everyone to vote, whether by absentee ballot or at in person at the polls. The deadline to register to vote is Saturday, March 28th at 5 o'clock. And Election Day is Tuesday, April 7th. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Thank you, everyone, and good night.